Big game hunters and closers are the top performers. They are the 1% of real estate agents. They're the 1% of brokers. They're the 1% of equipment salespeople. They're the 1% of financial advisors. Big game hunters and closers are somewhat different from the rest of the pack. Big game hunters and closers are able to outsell anyone, even in the worst market conditions. And so I've made it my life work in the sales game to really study big game hunters and closers, to benchmark them and to find out what makes them different. And I've developed about 50 competencies, and there's 5 that stand out from the rest. I'm going to quickly run through those 5 before I give you some other information here. But the 5 competencies are: 1, they know how to manage their emotions and feelings. That means that fear, doubt, and insecurity is able to be put to the back of their agenda of feelings, and they are able to be successful. So the competence of the executive center rules. The other thing about them is that they're able to make prospecting calls. They're willing to pick up the phone. They're willing to make connections. They're willing to go to networking in order to meet new contacts. They're like those bees that go out and find new resources. The other thing about them is that they understand that there's no such thing as rejection when making the call. What it is that they don't understand the objections. The fourth skill that they have is that they up-level their conversation so that the client becomes engaged and engaged quickly. So that just by being on the appointment, the client sees that there was value. And number 5, of course, means that they can follow a good system. They have metrics, and they don't really do anything without metrics. Ordinary salespeople talk about relationship selling, but not the big game hunters and closers. They talk about an A, a B, or a C prospect or client. So big game hunters and closers can pre-contract. That means they can ask for what they want, and they prepare the client for what they want. This morning I was talking to a client who doesn't sign the contract, but she's a key influencer. And we're setting up a conference call for next week. And I said to her, could you give me some advice to how to make this go well for both of us? And she gave me some great advice. A big game hunter and closer asks for that, whereas the average performer never would. And so they're able to leverage this same particular contact that I was talking to this morning belongs to a key association in our city, and I'm speaking there in just a couple of weeks. And so big game hunters and closers leverage what they do. And the important thing about them is that they also manage their energy. Whereas everyone else is trying to manage their time, the big game hunter and closer manages their energy. And isn't that interesting? Because it doesn't matter if you've got 8 hours a day or 24 hours, or it doesn't matter if you're drug out, as it were. You're not going to be effective. And so the interesting thing about big game hunters and closers, and I want you to remember these 3 points, is that they show up bigger than they feel. They ask for what they want, and they're willing to be rejected. And so what would that look like? Let's say they wanted to get some boxes moved from their office. They might say to someone in the next office, hey, I've got 25 boxes. I need to move down to the storage. And I know that's a big job, but I'm wondering if you'd be willing to give me a hand. But by all means, say no if you don't want to. A big game hunter and closer courts rejection. What's interesting about that is that when we give the right to say no to other people, chances are, in fact, my experience is that when you ask for what you want and give people the right to say no, you have an 80% chance of having your request granted. So they ask for what they show up bigger than they feel, which means they put themselves into situations that cause them to feel fear, doubt, and insecurity. They know they're out of their league maybe. They ask for what they want, giving the other person the right to say no, and then they're willing to be rejected. And of course, big game hunters and closers are the quintessential archetype of happy losers. It doesn't matter what people say to us. We still show up the next day ready to sell. So thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in our next video. And in the meantime, happy productive selling. Bye for now.